Hey everybody. It's Saturday night, and of course now that he knows I'm filming, he's stopped moving, but if you notice him or not, in that back corner there of the tank, one of my larger virile crayfish has apparently killed and is eating another one of the very large virile crayfish I put in here. So I'm kind of hoping he gets started. It could be my voice, it could be just me walking up and standing here, but he was going to town on it, tearing little pieces off and working away at it. It was pretty interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen crabs or crustaceans work away at eating something, but they just use their little claws and, tear little pieces off and ferry it back and forth to their mouth. So now that he's getting used to me being here, let's see if he doesn't get started again. But it didn't take long. You can't keep too many fairly large crayfish like that in one tank, even if it's 125 gallons like this one. It's just too much aggression with this species of crayfish. Really, really territorial and really aggressive. I was talking to somebody today. I think they have a different species in their tank, but they seem to be a little disbelieving that these crayfish can be as aggressive as they are. I have seen them do serious injury to large fish. I had a native tank once where it was a 40-gallon breeder. It was actually the inspiration for this tank, and it was just something I did over the summer just for fun. And during that tank experience, I actually witnessed a crayfish about this size take a swipe at a sunfish, and it nearly removed one of its pectoral fins. And another crayfish in that tank had a big, like a gash wound in its belly, and I mean it looked like it'd been in a knife fight. So I don't know what else would have done that other than a crayfish. So this species anyway, this virile crayfish, is a really, really aggressive crayfish. They will not hesitate to tear each other apart. They'll catch any kind of fish they can. So I've always kind of wondered if we're going to come down here one day and see that large bluegill that's here in this tank showing any signs of injury, and so far I haven't. I would imagine that's not a common thing, but in my 40 breeder, it was a much smaller tank, and I had fish just jammed in there. I was kind of new to fish keeping and a little overly excited about it, and I honestly didn't care if the fish were crammed in there or not. I only kept them in there for a few days at a time before I would pull them out and go get something else, and I always kept that tank turning over pretty quickly. I had a lot of fun with it. Probably wasn't the best managed tank in the world, but it was still a lot of fun to play with. So in this tank, with the extra hiding places and maybe the slightly larger volume, maybe we won't see the kind of damage and carnage that we saw in the other tank, but I still expect to see some pretty aggressive behavior between these larger crayfish. So let's see if we can't see anybody else doing anything interesting since we're standing here looking at the tank. I just fed it a little while ago. I put a variety of foods in this tank. That's my little warmouth. I do have another little fish in this tank, very similar in size, that I do believe is a bluegill. There he is. Really, really pretty little thing. So I'm looking forward to watching this one grow up, provided, of course, it doesn't get eaten by anything larger or any crayfish, and that's always a possibility in this tank. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get more of the Rosyside Dace. I only see a few of them in there. I really thought when we were out collecting them the other day that I was going to bring home quite a few more of those. I do plan on going back out. I do plan on trying to get some more of those Rosysides. I'd really, really like to see a school of those in here, of 12 or 15 of those swimming around. I think it would look fantastic. So that's definitely on my to-do list. Don't know what the weather's supposed to be like tomorrow, but it has been raining all day today, like serious rain. So the crayfish trap that I set up yesterday, I didn't tie very securely to that branch because I thought I was going to go back and get it today, and I didn't really see any reason to worry about it. Of course, I did not know we were supposed to be getting all this rain today, so I doubt it went too far. If it washed away, it's probably downstream somewhere, and I'm sure I'll find it again, but it's going to be interesting to go see if my crayfish trap survived the rainstorms that we've had all day today. Suffice it to say, I have not checked those traps today, and I don't know what we may or may not have in there yet. Here's another one of these little crayfish. They're hard to spot until you really get your eye in for them. There's that little sunfish again. See, I'm not sure what this crayfish was eating, but again, I just fed the tank. I usually put in this tank a combination of broken up algae wafers. I break them up into small pieces, and sinking shrimp pellets. They go in for the bottom feeding fish, and so that it gives the crayfish a variety of foods to eat, as well as the little darters and sculpins and stuff that I have on the bottom. I also put in the flake, or well, the crisps, flakes, whatever. I put those in. I will sometimes, for the larger fish that it's not really coming out and making much of an appearance at the moment, this bluegill back here will devour the floating cichlid sticks. I bought them by accident one day. I thought I was buying the floating cichlid pellets, which my Tenopoma in my 125 likes, and I accidentally bought sticks. So I've not really had a use for them until now, because that bluegill likes them. So those will go in here occasionally, and of course sometimes I will put frozen bloodworms in here for the little warmouth that we saw a few moments ago. Mainly that was just to get the warmouth feeding. Now that the warmouth has gotten to where it's going to eat, ooh, see, that crayfish was getting ready to snatch at that little Mayan cichlid there. I'm telling you, these are aggressive little animals. It was mainly to get that little warmouth eating. It was having a difficult time. It was getting really, really skinny. I thought I was going to lose it for a while, but the more specific feeding technique I was using with the PVC pipe apparently allowed it to get enough nutrition with the bloodworms that it's sprung back. It's now eating the flake food. It eats prepared food that I put in the tank, and so I'm putting bloodworms in this tank a lot less frequently now, because I just don't really need to. So here's a good example of these golden shiners. They're eating stuff off the bottom. So I never really worry about putting too much food in this tank. It does have an impact on things like my bioload, you know, and how much nutrients I'm putting in the tank, but I don't worry about it in the sense that it's not going to get eaten up by some fish. These are all stream fish, and they're all fish that usually have very high metabolisms. They burn a lot of energy, in other words, and you can always give them a lot of food. That's kind of what they do all day long in the wild, is fight river currents and look for food. So feeding them one time a day is not really natural for a fish like this. They feed periodically throughout the day. So they will nip stuff off the bottom, they'll take stuff off the surface, they'll grab stuff swimming through the water column. The only ones that I don't think would feed off the bottom very much would be these little minnows with the black lines down the sides of them. Again, I don't know what they're called. I have about 5 different possibilities, and everybody that thinks they're what they think they are think that they're the correct one and everybody else is wrong. I've seen a couple that I really think could be it, but again, I'm just not sure, so I will reiterate that it's all academic. This is no serious biotope or anything. This is just a tank for me to have fun with. I see these minnows swimming around in the stream when I go down to catch crayfish and play in the stream, and now I've got a little piece of that here in my basement, and I can sit here and enjoy them. What they're called doesn't, matter all that much to me. It's just kind of out of interest. So if there's any question, I'm not too worried about it. The Rosyside Dace, I know are Rosyside Dace. These golden shiners, I know are golden shiners. There's no, question about what else they might be. These jobs are different. Don't know what they are. I actually have a couple in the tank that might be something different altogether. Now, I'm seeing, now that I'm looking at them a little more closely, I do think I've got more of those Rosysides in there than I originally realized. I think I've got some females, and I might have some immature males, but I can definitely see that blue line on more of them than I first thought. So there's clearly a difference between the all brown with the dark stripe and then the one with that little sort of faint blue stripe on the side. But out of the brown ones, I do believe there's at least 2 species of brown fish with the dark brown stripe down. There's one with a more blunted nose, and then there's one with a more pointed nose. And then I have a few that seem different altogether, and they really like to stay down at this end, and they like to just sit in the current and swim directly into the current like they're trying to swim upstream in a river. It's pretty interesting, but it's only a few of them that seem to do that all the time. So I don't know if it's a few animals from that one species or if it's a completely different species, and I actually have 3 different species of little brown fish with lines down the side. I don't know, but I definitely enjoy it more with the schooling fish in here and the lots of little groups and the little, you know, fiddly bits of interest here and there and things to look at all over the place. I've never been one for the monster fish tank, you know, the big tank with 2 or 3 huge fish swimming around in it and not a lot going on. The fish are impressive to look at, but I would much rather enjoy the activity of a large community type tank with lots of habitat and lots of activity and interaction and that sort of thing. So we'll see as the summer progresses whether or not I wind up getting anything more aggressive or larger in here. I know for a long time I've been talking about putting a bass in here. I've been talking about putting pike in here, or not pike, I'm sorry, perch. I've been talking about putting some yellow perch maybe if I can catch one, or a white perch in here, and I still may. And if I can catch a small one, I may do that too, because a small perch isn't going to do a lot of damage, and a small bass isn't going to do a lot of damage. But at the same time, it's, you know, when somebody hears, you know, you got a bass in your fish tank, they don't want to see some little fingerling. They want to see something that's got some size to it. So I don't know. We'll have to see how the summer plays out. Again, this is going to be a malleable tank. We'll be able to change this tank up quite a bit as time goes on. And then by the end of the summer, as the season's winding down and I'm spending less time outdoors and a lot more time indoors, the tank will probably sort of settle into being some sort of stable, permanent community. And I'm really counting on having quite a few of those Rosyside Dace, those beautiful, beautiful blue and red fish in there. So that's going to be something to look forward to in the long run. But over the summer, as I keep saying, this is just going to be a fun tank. Lots of cool stuff to do. I'm sure a lot of crayfish will come and go through this tank over the course of the summer. Like I keep saying, they are brutal, brutal, aggressive animals, and they will, you know, thin their own numbers out, as we just saw. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I got all kinds of stuff going on. You never know what you're going to get when you subscribe to my channel, and you don't want to miss any of it. So thanks again for watching this one. Don't forget, this is my native tank. I'll see you real soon in the next one. Thanks again.